that's just kind of a warm-up before we get into some of the real old-timey classical stuff, which I have up on top of the piano. I'm going to start off with a real classic that even if you don't know the name, you've definitely heard the tune. The Tannhäuser Overture. Now this is one really big role. For other collectors, it's the Royal Music Company, number 7053. By far one of the largest rolls I have. I got this for free from a very, very generous friend of mine. Alright, here we go. finger cinching happens at the end of long rolls. Oh, we got some people watching. The piano is broken again. Restorations are indeed expensive, especially when someone else is doing it for you. I'm just gonna talk while I get this roll tightened. Generally, though, if you do it yourself, assuming you're just doing the player action, the materials to do that in terms of leather and bellow cloth and glue, ignoring how much time it would take, would probably cost like maybe at most, oh, that's not good. Wow, I'll have to fix that. Generally will cost about maybe $700. No, that's a lot actually. No, I'm wrong. More like, I think about $200 or $300. You could probably have the materials to do the bellows in here and the air motor and the tracking device and all of that. And of course down here with the pumping bellows and all of that. Assuming you leave the piano original. New action parts and hammers. I think I've got about $3,000 in hammers and action parts down here, and then new strings and all that is probably another $1,500 for duplicating the bass strings. But just the player action, if you do the rebuild yourself, it probably costs maybe a couple $100 at most. It gets really expensive when someone else does it for you. Generally these days, a complete restoration will cost around $15,000 for someone else to do it for you, which is why I prefer to do them that's why I prefer to do my own. This piano was a very generous gift from a friend who redoes them. But I hope that helps with rebuilding costs for you. Oh, and just my old piano. I forgot to tell you guys about that I was doing this. I've been busy all day and haven't been really tuned into what we're talking about, I guess. All right, this next roll is a piece by Franz Liszt, very, very well known. Hungarian Rhapsody number 6. This is the Concerized roll 10152. So it's definitely on the rarer side. And supposedly this was hand played by Leopold Winkler, who I've never heard of. I can't remember if this one is actually hand played or not, because some of them are about, like, they just have way more notes than you could ever hope for to play by hand. Ooh, new bass bridge. That is, 10,000. Okay, I think I can see where they're going with the 10,000. I know there are things you can do to fix them without replacing them, but I don't think, I think they can last for a couple of years, but like there are things you can do to fix them. I just can't remember what they are at the moment. 10,000 seems like a bit of a stretch in my opinion. I was told by someone else it was like me. I think I had a piano that had a bass bridge that needed fixed. I don't know about replaced, but for a new one he quoted me like $1,200 for the bass bridge. That's probably just the manufacturing part, but the whole replacement, you could, if you reuse the original strings, which is completely doable, you can take out the old bass bridge, get a new one made for probably a couple thousand, I would assume. Again, I'm just saying stuff, I guess. There's a lot of stuff that varies, but hopefully it doesn't cost that much for a new bass bridge. Wish you the best, my friend. Okay, Hungarian Rhapsody number 6. Yeah, some of these early rolls like this do not have bridging and it causes discords. that's always been a favorite of mine. There's a duo art roll that in this roll, it doesn't quite have all the really fast ones. It kind of cheats with some like I don't know, marimba. I forget. There's another word for it. I don't remember. But for any other people who noticed that, there is a duo art roll that has the full repetition. I heard that played on a Weber duo art, and that thing just hammered out all those notes, no problem whatsoever. Yeah, if a complete restoration cost you $7,000, I don't understand how a bass bridge would cost $10,000. That's why it's like a full piano, just my old piano. You told me that you kept the original strings in yours. This one has new strings, and this kind of restoration costs around, I think, 15. Of course, different restorers will charge different prices. So yeah, like even like that comparison, 7,000 for a complete redo, everything except the strings, and then that doesn't make sense to me how like a bass bridge would cost 10,000. Of course, things can vary with the condition of the piano and whatnot, but that's just kind of what I'm seeing here. Oh yes, this is Hungarian Rhapsody number 8. I have 12 here as well. I'm going to play that next.
Oh yes, we really do, don't we? I don't have the 88 note test roll on me. That belongs to a friend of mine, and he let me borrow it. So unfortunately, I do not have it at the moment. I have something a little similar. I was gonna play this at the end, but since someone here is interested in that kind of arrangement, I have Shepherd's Hay, arranged by Percy Granger. I know I've probably played this before on another stream, but I mean it's too much fun for me, so I just kind of have to do it again. So it starts off simple, and then it gets pretty, and then it starts getting weird, and then it gets pretty again, and then it just goes nuts. So here we go. It's an English dance tune, and then Percy here made his own arrangement of it for the player piano. Call it what you will. I find it interesting.
test roll. There's one for you. Oh, this was a hard roll to find too. They only made those in this kind of rolling over in Europe. So to find one over here in the States, yes, I live in the United States, was a challenge, and of course an original of all things. All right, next roll, some more Franz Liszt. I have a lot of Franz Liszt for us today. He's one of my favorite classical composers because of how crazy he got in some cases. And there's different sides to the music too. There's happy moments, there's sad moments, and he doesn't overdo it in terms of notes usually. But all right, Hungarian Rhapsody number 12. Not quite exactly as I forget his first name. His last name is Kissing. He played it really well. This definitely has some extra notes in it, I think, so it's not entirely hand playable. But that's kind of what they did with the rolls back then. In some cases, especially this company. So here we go. Ah, yes, Brian. Hello. How are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Do I have Ain't Misbehaving? I might. Dang it, man. I swear. I read it somewhere. I got the 12th Street rag. I don't know how I don't have Ain't Misbehaving. I don't remember I kind of remember having it, but it would have been in one of the ones I bought recently. Oh, I'm awful at the song request stuff. I never have them. I know I don't have Ain't Misbehaving in the closet, and there's no other real place it would be. Maybe on a medley roll somewhere, but that doesn't even ring a bell. I'm sorry. Well, why don't we switch it up a little bit? Here, we'll play some more 1920s-ish music, kind of. This is called Sweepin' the Clouds Away. This is a British-made melotto roll, and the beginning kind of has some hints of a classical piece that I don't know the name of, but here we go. Now the interesting thing about these is that these were made by Aeolian, but there's no duo version of them. So I think they were definitely recorded, but they were never given duo coding. So this is what you get. You get 88 note, and the expression is up to the person using the piano. Okay, this is another favorite of mine. If you ever saw the short I did of the Franz Liszt Almost Discovers Ragtime, here's the roll on it of that. It's that piece that section is on. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the name. It's like Agnès de Carolinage, I think. I probably mispronounced it, but I mean, I don't know how I can do much better. Another Liszt piece, of course I already said that, but okay, here we go. Getting out of whack here. We gotta check that and make sure that's. I'm watching the stream on a computer, so I gotta wait for it to catch up. Okay, that should be good. Sorry about that. I probably played that a little faster than I should, but with a player piano you can do that. Like a person could, maybe it'd be sloppier, but yeah, a person, a normal pianist could not play that definitely could not play that by hand. Just, in some cases, just a little bit too fast. Now I gotta get this thing out of here. So, I should tighten this stupid roll up. That's the annoying thing with re-rolling some of these really long ones. They don't always spool up the way they should. So you gotta kind of mess with them to get them back on the spool. Oh, I wasn't even that far from the end. Okay. So, alright, I've played that one already. I'll skip it. I'll play one that I actually have never played before. Brian, I don't know if that's a joke or not. I don't get it. Say 50 pounds off per person. Like, it's like cheaper to fly or something. I'm sorry, I don't get it. Okay. I've never played this one. I've never even taken it out of the box until now. So for all I knew, it could have just fallen apart, but I guess it didn't. La Norma, Fantasy Brillante by Laibach. Aeolian 88 note 80585. I'm just going out with the classical music right now because I can't. I like classical music. I know it's not the most popular thing in the piano roll community, but I like it. So here we go. out to be a really good one. I'm glad I bought that one. I think I got it for like $2 or something like that in an antique shop. Oh, hello, that guy Nemo. Well, I don't think even a human pianist can play the way I just played that on the, because this is a roll. It's a player piano. It's not a person who's playing. It's the roll. This is arranged, by the way. So, I mean, I play this stuff at a speed that you could never work. Oh yes, yes, I know, Andrew. I know. Lewis L. What a coincidence. Yes, it is a very good one. But you're lucky you got to start out with that one. Okay, now I have. Does that say third? No, I just realized. Okay, so I have the Chopin's Concerto in E minor, and I have the first movement and the third movement, but not the second. I mean, that's kind of anticlimactic. I thought that said second, but now I'm realizing it says third. See, there's the first one, first movement, third movement, and I remember now I was looking for the second one and I couldn't find it. So I guess I just don't have it. So yeah, this roll and that roll are probably some of the most difficult to play simply because of their length. Yes, I hate it because, I mean, you have like 2/3 of it. I don't know. I think this concerto only has 3 movements. That's generally how many I think they have. But it seems like, well, of course, they're missing. You don't have them all. And then the problem is you can't just go and buy another one. You have to look for it and hope one survives. And worst case, you have to make a new one if you really want it that bad. Paper cinching again. Come on. There we go. That's the first movement. The paper's touching the back of the spool box. That's how ridiculously long this roll is. I'm getting tired here, but I'll do the third movement because why not, I guess. There's one other roll I didn't, there's two others I didn't get to, but yeah, I'm getting a little worn out here. Been sitting here for an hour and a half. Pumping isn't even the challenging part, it's just keeping your posture straight because my back starts to hurt. Because sometimes I slouch over. Alright, last roll. Here we go. I don't think this one is quite as long as that one was. Still on the long side though. Last roll of the stream. Come on. Some of these British ones seem to have a problem locking in on the geared slotted chuck. Probably because I don't know, they're European or something. lots of runs of that. Highways are happy ways. Okay. Yes, I can do that one. I do indeed own a copy of that. Okay, this is the real last one now. That was the last one. This is the last one now that we're doing. Yes, we do. There wouldn't be much of a point to a player piano if you weren't playing crazy stuff. Or taking things that are normal and then making them crazy fast. Of course, I could have interpreted that a lot differently, but when I look at a piano roll, I see it more as an orchestral score a lot of the time instead of a recording. So there's a lot of fun to be had. Otherwise, I mean, why make it if you can't change the tempo? Let me go find this roll I'm talking about real quick. 1 second. Here we are. Highways are happy ways. International 63764. This roll is quite brittle, but oh yeah, the roll is a mile long. Oh my. Okay. Oh, you should have seen the one before it. That one's got to be at least a mile and a half. Okay, highways are happy ways. A very scary to play and brittle roll. Okay, here we go. Here. Yeah. Oh. No, we're okay. I think we should probably stop there. I hate to do that, but yeah, not looking too. Maybe I can go ahead a little and get past the scary spot. Maybe it'll be okay. Alright. Thank you for your support, Brian. That is a scary one to play. Gotta get it recut. Seriously, I want to make a perforator and a scanner. But of course I'm tied up with restorations and all the things of life. Well, I think I kind of am famous. I'm not like famous, but I mean I got 1,500 subscribers. So yeah, I haven't played that role in probably 8 months. Well, I don't really remember how long it was since I recorded it for a YouTube video, but that was last time I recorded it. But thank you for watching, everyone. I'm worn out now, and some of the roles are too. Take care, everyone. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.